He belongs to me. He's my baby now.
Well, that's just a snippet of the book trailer for the new thriller by best-selling author Linwood Barclay, a guy who knows how to freak readers out, which is really a total accomplishment. The book is called Broken Promise. It officially comes out tomorrow, but Linwood Barclay is here today to whet our reading appetite. So the first in a trilogy, but fans will notice some familiar things. We're back in Promise Falls, New York. We're back with David Harwood, the reporter whose newspaper has just collapsed. And without giving too much away, because you obviously want people to read the book, what sort of plot twists can we anticipate?
Well, there's a great many. The Broken Promise is actually the first of 3 linked novels, so there's a sort of a backstory that runs through the 3 of them that explodes in the 3rd, but the central story in Broken Promise is in fact about David, who is been asked to drop in and see how his cousin Marla is doing. She had a stillbirth about 10 months ago. She lost a child. And this had a great sort of emotional effect on her and left her somewhat disturbed. And when he goes to see how she's doing, he drops by and she's taking care of a 10-month-old child. And he says, well, where did this baby come from? And she says, well, an angel brought him to me. And across town, there's been a horrific murder of a woman, and her baby's missing. And so this is now has become, drawn into this mess of what's happened with his cousin. That's the sort of central story, but there's an awful lot of other things that are going on in Promise Falls. You
spent a lot of time at a newspaper yourself, at the Toronto Star. How much of that experience helped you shape David's character?
Well, some, I suppose. I mean, like I say, I was there at the Star for 27 years, and I was an editor and I was a columnist for 14 of those. And I think just sort of the newspaper background stuff that's in this novel and in some of the others is authentic from what I've seen. I think working in newspapers more than anything sort of established my work ethic, which is to get books in on time, get a certain amount done every day, and don't be late.
When you're writing a trilogy, are you aware of what comes in 2 or 3? I mean, I'm sure you are to a certain point, but I guess how aware are you? Or does the plot development, the character development happen with the subsequent books?
Well, it's funny because I typically write 1 novel a year. I'm sort of contracted for a book a year. And because I knew these books were going to be linked, I had this tremendous fear that I would get to book 3 and thinking something I really needed to set up in book 1 that and I can't now, it's in the stores. So I wrote them one after the other. I wrote 3 novels in 15 months. So I was able to get to the 3rd book, and if I thought of things that had an impact on book 1, I was able to just had enough time to get him into it.
And in terms of movie rights, I mean, how involved are you in that process?
Well, you just, not terribly involved, you just sort of say yes or no. If someone likes your book and they want to option it, then they say, well, do you want to go with these people? And when we go back and forth. And I've had a number of things that have been optioned. Just recently, a couple of books have been optioned for TV in France. But I always think, I mean, it'd be great if one of these things actually hits the screen. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I think optioning books for movies is like reserving a book at the library you never pick up. A lot of times. That's
a very good way of putting it. In terms of your own influences, I remember reading somewhere that Margaret Laurence was a mentor of yours. Of course, a huge Canadian author. How did she help your writing?
Well, first of all, she was so encouraging. When I was attending Trent University, she was writer in residence, which was how I connected with her. But we became quite good friends, and that lasted beyond Trent and up until she passed away. And she was just relentlessly encouraging. And she was, a wonderful friend and a wonderful mentor. But she was always just a big booster.
And now you're paying it forward, a huge influence on young authors and internationally known. Linwood, it's great having you.
Pleasure. It was great fun.
You'll find Broken Promise on our iBooks page. Head to itunes.com/CanadaAM.